Okay, so if you're one of the few people that watched my video on the problem with review scores, you'll know I did a review on Starfield, and the specific number I gave it caused some confusion. And so I made a video explaining how everyone rates based on their own context, and I came to the conclusion that I need to explain the exact reason behind the numbers I give games. And in the video, I was brainstorming a bunch of different ideas on how to have the best rating scale going forward, and I think I came up with a middle ground on some of the issues I was facing. The new rating scale is 1 to 10, but with a 0 for games that are literally unplayable. That doesn't quite count in the scale, but I wanted to point out what a 0 would be for context. So I'll run you through each number in the new scale. A 1 is bad in every aspect, but unlike a 0, it's actually playable, like the game starts up. A 2 is overall still bad, but may have some okay ideas or aspects about it, but the package as a whole is still bad. 3 is just not worth your time to play. It's not necessarily bad, but with all of the games out there, there's just better things to do. 4 is basically not worth the price. So, if you could get the game for free or a decent discount, it might be worth getting it. Not necessarily, but it might be. If a 4 was free, it might get bumped up to a 5. And so a 5 is mediocre. Slightly worse than the AAA average, which I will get into in a second. It may be worth getting if it's your niche or preferred genre of game. Like maybe you really like Souls-like games and you've played them all, and this game is like a mediocre Souls-like, but still a Souls-like that you haven't played, so it may be worth it to you to buy, something like that. 6 is average, but when I say average, I'm specifically talking about AAA average, since AAA games are what most people are familiar with. If you take the average of 1 to 10, since you're not including 0, the average is actually 5.5. But AAA games tend to have a big budget behind them that makes it much easier for them to be bumped up a bit, so I feel like a 6 makes sense. I was thinking about bumping them up a bit more because, like I talked about in the other video, there's a lot of games that are really bad that the average person just doesn't even really know about. And so originally I was basing my rating system on the fact that I do know about those games, because I have experience with those games, but not everybody does. So, I was thinking about where exactly do I put average, and I settled on 6 because of the reasons I just explained, right? 6 is AAA average. And I guess you could say 5.5 is average overall, and to explain it a bit more, when like a AAA studio comes out with a game and it's just nothing new, nothing groundbreaking, it's a game, it works, it's okay, that's a 6. So a 7 is good. Pretty much anything that's a 7 or above, I would generally recommend, especially if it's something you have interest in. A 7 is good, but it may not be for everybody. And I wanted to leave a lot of room to compare like different levels of good games, because there is a really big range between a good game and a great game. So 7's good, 8 is very good, and 9 is great. There's really not too much to explain there. And then a 10 is perfect, which you're not gonna see, but it's there for context basically. And I suppose a game could get up to like a 9.9 if it's like as close as to perfect as I could possibly see a game getting in my lifetime. And from there, I will bump up or subtract a rating by decimal points for like different smaller aspects. So like, for example, if there is an otherwise great game, but like the dialogue's pretty cringe or something, it could be an 8.9. Or is there a game that's not worth the price, but like I really like a certain mechanic and I think it should be used again, that may have to be like a 4.2, getting closer to being worth it in like a niche genre, but probably still not worth it. But, like definitely something to keep an eye on, and so with all this being said, I've decided to re-rate Starfield, which I previously gave a 7.5 out of 10, which like I previously said caused a lot of confusion. And so now my new rating system, it's a 6.2 out of 10. I'd say it's close to being a good game, but it's being held back by so many things. Like the main quest line's bad, the writing is mediocre, the gameplay loop could be a lot more interesting. And those downsides are somewhat balanced out by like the amount of dialogue, which is, way more than your typical game. There's like the unique cities and just like the ambition behind the game. Even if like the ambitious aspects didn't turn out all that great, I still think it's worth like noting and maybe bumping it up like a decimal point, just for that. But so yeah, in the end, Starfield gets a 6.2 out of 10 on this system. But yeah, I hope this cleared up some confusion, and I'll definitely be using this as like a reference in the future. I actually have 2 reviews planned, which I didn't expect to be doing reviews so soon. They're definitely going to be shorter than the Starfield review because that was just ridiculous. I am not in a position to be doing hour-long reviews. Yeah, so 2 new reviews coming out. If you like the video, click the like button. If you want to see these reviews or you just want to see more from me, subscribe. I'll see you around.
It works, it's okay.